Hello and welcome back to The Gentleman Psychic. Make certain to hit the like and subscribe button and ring that notification bell to be among the first to receive updates on videos like this and many others. Also, check me out on Patreon under The Gentleman's House. Link is in the bio. Today, we are going to be talking about you are a psychic. Aren't you supposed to know that? So, as many of you know, I was on a show where we had to guess the odd man out. And I played the game like I was playing a game. And it came through that the person who was not the mole ended up by winning. And people say, yeah, you didn't know. Well, if you were to go back and watch that Jubilee video, you would see a couple of very interesting things. One thing that you might see is that when the lovely young lady, Paris is her name, who was the mole, she says, oh, it's really hard. And I look at her and I go, yeah, it is. Because I knew. Well, the first person I voted out, because I knew we were going to continue, the first person is always, that's a given. So I went ahead and voted against her because, frankly, honestly, I didn't like her. Not everyone likes me. Not everyone likes you, and that's okay. We had a difference of opinion. So I voted her out. And then the second woman I voted out because she had said a snide remark about me being in makeup. And yes, I wear makeup. I like it. It makes me feel good. So you do you. You wear whatever makes you happy. And when it came my turn to vote, I was incensed, and I got in my own self. I got in my own head, and I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong to get in my own head and to seek revenge. I sought revenge. Now, I sat there. Here's the second thing you would notice. So when it came my turn to vote for who I thought the mole was, I came up and I paused. And I had this whole dialogue in my head. And I said, it's Paris. The mole is Paris. I know it's Paris. This other woman slighted me. But it's Paris. I know it's Paris. Vote for Paris. And then I thought, no, because usually these things go 3 rounds. At least the episodes that I had seen go 3 rounds. And that way then, we get to play the game, we get to continue the game, and then I have removed people from the game that have cast their ire towards me, or their indiscretion, or their thoughts against me, and I got into self. I was wrong in doing that. However, I will tell you that when I was on the show, and I talked to the producer, they asked me to be on the show Odd Man Out. And I said to her, it's going to be a woman of mixed ethnicity, and she's going to have Googled, what does a psychic look like? And Paris looked beautiful. She looked beautiful, but she was very much like what you would expect a psychic to look like. Lots of tie-dye and lots of jewelry. And she looked beautiful, by the way. She looked beautiful. Well, the thing is, too, that what you may notice is that the people who were standing on either side of the mole, they felt like she was the mole. We both said, nope, we want to play the game. We want to continue playing the game. We want to play the game. We want to continue playing the game. Because we were standing right there. We were acting as a sort of a buffer. We could feel her right there on that side. So everyone else had voted to stop playing the game, effectively making the mole win. And I turned and I said, you were next. I knew it was you. And then people online laughed at me and they said, oh yeah, sure you did. Okay. And then I said to her, she said, well, why would you think I was the mole? And I said, because you're trying too hard. You're beautiful, but you're trying too hard. And everyone got onto me that one. They said, you're trying too hard, and you look like a vampire, and you're wearing a tuxedo, and you are over the top, and you're flamboyant, and you are exactly what I would think that some sideshow magician would look like. Well, the difference, my dear friends, in that sort of thing is that I always dress like this. I dress like this in my own home. I just do. I just enjoy it. Paris is lovely. She's a lovely lady. But again, I think she's lovely. It's just I could tell, I could sense something was slightly askew, and I did not trust my own intuition. That is the major lesson here for you when you are doing psychic ability, psychic work, speaking with spirits. Trust your own intuition and don't second guess yourself, because that's where you come into trouble. What's more, sometimes being a psychic is a little bit like the picture, this picture that is on the screen. In this picture, you may or may not know what this picture is representational of. You can see a little bit of it. And you can go, well, I can see this, but I'm trying to rationalize. Maybe this picture is something else. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. You're getting a little bit of the picture. The full picture is something completely different when you step back and you're able to look at it. So sometimes when we, as professional psychics, people who actually are psychic, we get a picture, we get an image, we get a feeling. But it doesn't tell the entire story. Sometimes our brains are trying to interpret what we're seeing, and it doesn't always make sense to us. So the brain kind of fills it in. And a case in point is a very sad case, a case that was surrounding the very talented but late Sylvia Browne. Sylvia Browne went on all of the shows. She was on the circuit. She was on the Montel Williams show. And this mother stood up and she asked a question. Will I ever see my daughter again? Is my daughter alive? And Sylvia Browne famously said, I'm sorry, sweetie, she's not with us. I see her underground between two rocks, and I hate to tell you, she's dead. Well, tragically, the mother, died thinking her daughter was dead, and she never got to see her daughter again. And then it turns out the daughter was very much alive. She'd been kidnapped, and she was watching the Montel Williams show in that very moment that Sylvia Browne was talking about her being dead. However, from a subjective point of view, Sylvia says she's the way that I interpret Sylvia's insight was, she said, "Oh, I see her between two rocks. I see her underground. I see her. You not seeing her again. So I would even be considering interpreting it as death. You're underground. You're not going to see each other again. There's between two rocks, two rocky. It looks like it was concrete. She was underground in the cellar." So the way of interpreting it is she saw someone who looked like they were underground. She saw that they weren't going to be connected anymore in this realm. And sadly, it turned out opposite to what she had thought, but it was true when you step back and look at it subjectively. So also people like to ask me, well, you're a psychic. Why don't you just tell me the lottery numbers? Well, first of all, it doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. It doesn't work like that. If it did, if I knew the lottery numbers, I would not be giving them to you, because then I would want the money for me. That's the way it works. Now, sometimes this is a strange thing about psychic ability. It's actually it's sort of a sixth sense. It's something that has developed through evolution, and it really helps in the animal kingdom. So if you're a rabbit, for instance, and you're happily going along your trail, and you have a split second, should I go this way? Should I go that way? And your mind goes, oh, this way, because if I go over here, you feel like that's not the right way. It's a sixth sense. So sometimes when the lottery numbers are being called in that moment, I can tell you the numbers. Now, I used to, when I was a blackjack dealer, I used to be able to lay the cards out and I could tell you what the cards were, but I had to touch the cards. I couldn't tell you what was going to happen until I was in the game. So one of my favorite stories that happened was that I would touch the cards. It was what I did. We had an automatic shuffler, and I would touch the cards, and I could say, this is a 10 of diamonds, and I would lay it out, and it would be accurate. And then I would say, this is a 2 of spades, and I would lay it out, and it would be correct, and so on and so forth. And people would always go, oh, how do you do that? How do you know? How do you know? And I would go, I don't know. I just know. Well, one day there was, and I remember this one distinctly, because there was a man sitting in the first chair, and he had a tip for me. There was a man in the next chair, and then there was a woman over here. The man that was in the first chair, he had 17. He had to stay. You have to stay on 17. You have to stay. The next man, he had 13, and I touched the card. It was a Queen of Hearts. He says, hit me, because you're supposed to hit. I think I had a 2 or a 3. He says, hit me. I said, no, because if I do, this is going to be a Queen of Hearts. You're going to have 23. You're going to lose, which means that then you're going to take the 10 from this guy's card, which would make him have 21, and then I will have 21. He's going to have 19. I'll have 21. The man says, hit me. I went, okay. Queen of Hearts, 23. You busted. Okay, well, thanks a lot. Oh, well, now you, because he has your card, now you have 19 and 1, 2, 3, 21. Do you feel better? Because I don't. So I couldn't have told you what was going to happen until I was in that game, but I was in the game. So evolutionary-wise, we do have that little bit of 1 second or 2 second sort of intuition that kicks in. Everybody has it. We just have to trust it a little bit more. You can develop it, of course. You can go into it. But psychics, we get pictures. We don't always know the whole story, no matter how much we would like to tell you the good news, or we would like to see the whole thing. Sometimes we just see little glimpses of it. And with that, speaking of little glimpses, here's a word from my friend the devil and Asmodeus.
Asmodeus, do you know what it was that he was trying to show us? I just can't for the life of me figure out what it's supposed to be in that picture. Do you know what it was? Because I can't figure it out. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, and thank you at home. Actually, before I go, I want to tell you a little bit more. So, I don't do anything about health because, as a psychic, I sometimes have a very limited window, and I'm not a medical doctor. So, I don't want to tell you, this is what I see when there's all of this other stuff out here. And now, make certain that you check me out on Patreon under the Gentleman's House. You can also sign up. We'll send you pictures. There's all kinds of wonderful things you can get. Make certain to follow me on Facebook under The Gentleman Psychic. And if you would like to have a reading, you can contact me through thegentlemanpsychic.com or just send an email to thegentlemanpsychic@gmail.com. With that, my beauties, I love you. I appreciate you. Until next time, I'm your host, Richard-Lael Lillard, the Gentleman Psychic.